But I think the main things is at the end of the day, volleyball is volleyball. It's in the same 9x9 court, and the rules are the same. So we. Is that on the back of your shirt?
Yeah, it's on the back of the shirt.
You did. A little free shout out for you. And it doesn't matter who's on the other side of the net. You need to still execute to the best of your ability if you want a chance to win.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of the 9x9. My name is Everett Delorme, joined, as always, by my good friend and buddy, and looking pretty slick today. Did you get a new haircut?
I did.
Yeah.
Thanks for noticing.
Look at that. See, even through the pixelated whatever software we're using, I can still tell. This is the 81 square meters of the best volleyball content on the internet. We've got a great show today for you guys. Bit of a light week in volleyball. Obviously, still tons to talk about. Champions League, CEV Cup, SuperLega, PlusLega. Of course, PVF continues into their second week of competition. So we're going to touch on all of that. Pretty excited just to talk some ball. We've talked about it before, but just a reminder that this will be the new time moving forward for the time being for the 9x9. We're going to be going live at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time on Monday nights. So we get caught up on everything that went on in the world of volleyball from the week before. So Rob, how do you feel about just jumping into this into some Champions League stuff? Because last week we had the first playoff rounds for the Champions League, as Rob so nicely put up the bracket there for you guys to check out. Those three matches at the bottom there, we saw play out: Guagas against Prague, Halkbank and Zaksa, and Tools against Berlin. So, Rob, I think we should just start with the biggest one. You kind of have the three levels of matchups in this one.
Very much so.
Let's start at the top. Zaksa. This is a tale of two different teams right now. Zaksa is staying alive so far in the Champions League, but floundering in the PlusLega. This one, honestly, probably should have been a set win for Zaksa. They bounced back nicely after Halkbank's opening set. But all in all, a 3-2 win for Zaksa to at least take a bit of a lead going into the second leg.
A bit of a lead, and this was in Poland. They're going to go to Turkey this week on Wednesday. I think, is that the Wednesday game or the Thursday game? That's a Wednesday game. So they've got they're probably traveling, maybe even today, and then maybe get some touches in tomorrow. And we'll talk about Zaksa's absolute debacle in the PlusLega over the weekend, which was honestly just tough to watch. But this particular game had a little bit of everything. It ended up being 2.5 hours long. I'm actually surprised it wasn't longer than that, because I think that the place I want to start is with the absolute mess that was the official situation in the fifth set.
Yikes.
This was
17 minutes.
This was like nothing I've ever seen before. This fifth set, 15-12 Zaksa, 38 minutes. And that was because of just a completely inexplicable officiating mix-up at 8-7 in the fifth set when the sides change. You know, we have systems in place. This is not a new thing that we change sides when the first team reaches 8 in the fifth set, but there was a 17-minute delay when Zaksa went up 8-6 about the score and about the changing of the sides. And I think what Polish Twitter was saying was that and Turkish Twitter as well. We had a lot of people who spoke both respective languages listening to their home broadcasts and telling us in the Discord just how ridiculous their commentators were being, going in on how much of a joke this was. I think what ended up happening was the up official and down official were not on the same page about what the score was. One of the officials was just wrong about the score. And they ended up having to basically go back and rewatch the entire first half of the set to make sure that the score was in fact 8-6, which we knew from after the second that last point was scored. It was the most like volleyball is so embarrassing, what are we doing here moment that I've seen maybe ever in a Champions League playoff.
Yeah, that is hands down the Vera Volley Monza figured out award of the week. Goes to the refereeing in the CEV volleyball, because it was embarrassing. Right. Like, once again, this is volleyball. Like, this is what I've come to expect from volleyball, and it's absolutely terrible. It's really difficult for like and it's also funny what happened with those two types of fans, because had it happened with any other fans, like the noise wouldn't be as loud. But like Polish volleyball Twitter and Turkish volleyball Twitter are the two most active volleyball Twitters out there
by far.
By far. So just once again, another tough situation for volleyball where we just can't get of our own way and can't figure it out. Also love just throwing some strays in the Discord to Jax's way. He will forever be my target when something like that happens. But I mean, the game wasn't without controversy. We saw a huge red card in the fourth set to Kaczmarek, which kind of turned the tides for that fourth set and really like let Halkbank back into the match. And
I want to talk about that too, because as good as Łukasz Kaczmarek was, like he ended up with an MVP award because he dropped 23 points on 20 for 35 attacking with 3 aces and no service errors, which is amazing. But that red card that he got in the fourth set might actually, there is a chance that red card that he got in that fourth set might cost Zaksa their Champions League season. And the reason why is that it completely stopped Zaksa's momentum in its tracks. Because, and the reason why, well, I'll get to the reason, the red card itself, but it stopped Zaksa's momentum in its tracks. Our understanding was that Zaksa felt like they had that match in hand. It felt to me watching it like they had that fourth set in hand, and that completely was a 180-degree swing of momentum. It stopped Zaksa from being able to potentially win that match in 4. And as everybody knows, in Champions League, if you win a match in 3 or 4 in the first leg, the worst that you can do in the second leg is play a golden set. Instead, they ended up going to 5. They win it in 5. Now, in Turkey, all Halkbank needs to just advance, not even need a golden set, is a 3 or 4 set win. So winning that match for Zaksa in 4 versus 5, they ended up winning it in 5. That kind of changes everything about this next leg. And the red card itself was so stupid. Łukasz Kaczmarek served an ace. He got red carded after serving an ace because it was like almost like a pixel perfect, like back millimeter of the very far corner in like the position 5 corner down the line from where he was serving. And it was so close that the line judge standing right in front of it initially called it out of bounds. The up official overruled it immediately, gave the point to Zaksa, but Kaczmarek practically charged, like almost past the net, almost charged the line judge after serving an ace and got straight red carded and completely changed the game. It was childish and stupid and pointless,
especially in the situation where like it wasn't like there was much time between the call being made by the lines judge and the up referee, making their own call. And to me, that is really a sign of the pressure right now that this Kaczmarek is in, but this entire Zaksa team is under. I mean, we'll get to that a little bit later too when we're talking about the PlusLiga and a post from Rick Shoji over the weekend. But there's clearly a lot of pressure for this Zaksa team right now, and I think there's one player that feels the big brunt of that, and I think there's probably 2 players that feel the most of that, and that's Bednors and Kaczmarek, because they've kind of been there, the 2 guys who haven't been too injured and have been around throughout everything. Good news for Polish fans and Zaksa fans is that he was able to kind of settle himself down. So many times you see after an emotional outburst, someone's just going to lose their game after that. Like if that's Herrera, game over. You're going to be bringing in Bentara or whoever else is on the Cuban national team. But Kaczmarek was really able to kind of bring things in, rein it in. But yeah, it was just a complete bonehead play there by Kaczmarek. But I do think part of the other thing, I think we have to give some credit. They switched out Mirza Lugumdzija, started the match. He was in the match early, wasn't great. Gord Perrin was doing all right, but Lugumdzija came in and really did a good job for Halkbank in that fourth set and really helped force that fifth.
Yeah, he did, and I think there's a lot to break down here about Halkbank too, because that, to me, if you're a Halkbank fan, seems like a match you probably should have won. With all that was going on Zaksa's side, with them practically gifting you that fourth set for free with a really stupid red card that changed the game, and just not. I feel like Halkbank had plenty of decent swing chances in transition in the fifth to take break points and just didn't terminate on a lot of those pretty good opportunities. And in my opinion, a lot of that falls on Namir Abdelaziz. He was not even close to terminal enough. 12 for 37 with 7 errors. Like that's 25. That's 18 continuations.
Only
More
one,
than
only 1 for 2 in the 5th, though, right? Maybe that's a bit of an issue there. Like, I know it's Namir, and I know there's things, but like you're going to the middles more than you're going to the to your opposite. Like, Ngapeth was really good. He was 4 for 6.
He was really good
in that 5th set, but
and
still
20
like,
for 30 overall, which is incredible. Like that's probably maybe Irvin's best match of the year. And when you get that, because Irvin's been the wild card, to not pair that with an even like acceptable Namir performance, because 12 for 37 with 7 errors is not even close to good enough for Namir Abdelaziz. Not even close. So to pair like when you get that level from Irvin Ngapeth, with not to take advantage of that and win the match is disappointing to me if I'm a Hawkbank fan.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like they've left a lot on the table this year. Like this is a team that could be right. This is a team that from the get go, I thought this was a dark horse team that could win the Champions League. I thought this was a dark horse team to have a really good year, and they've just seemed to stumble every step along the way. Of course, they do have some a little bit of reinforcements coming in the form of Jay Blankino coming in as their backup setter. But I mean, we'll see what'll happen with Hawkbank as they continue to be an interesting team. I'm not entirely sure what's not clicking there. Maybe there's just a little bit. Maybe I also think it's a bit of a time thing. You know, you bring in some guys like Ngapeth. I think there's going to be a little bit of an adjustment period. That's in the played together.
Dude, it's February. It's February. Adjustment periods are over. It's the Champions League playoffs. Like, I don't really have any answers either, but I'm not going to chalk it up to them not having enough time together. That's definitely not it. But they, again, because Zaksa gifted them that 4th set with that really stupid Kaczmarek red card, I do think now Hawkbank has a significant advantage in this series. Because if they win the match in 3 or 4, they advance. If they win in 5, they go golden set. And if Zaksa wins by any score, Zaksa's through. But I think that match being in Turkey this week and Zaksa coming off the weekend that they just had, I think the chances for Zaksa to really put their best foot forward on Wednesday are not looking great. So I think Hawkbank's in a pretty good spot, but they've been in good spots before throughout the season.
At home is huge.
Exactly.
Hosting this at home is huge. That cannot be understated. Know that crowd is going to be loud, right? You know that they are going to be passionate. And if Hawkbank has the ability to ride that wave in a positive way, that can go for them. But we've also seen that go the opposite way. They might be up there, like they're up there with Piacenza being as some of the moodiest teams. Like one of the moodiest teams in volleyball, where they're just like on, off. When they're on, they can be amongst the best. When they're off, they can be really bad. So it's going to be really interesting to see, especially like I really feel that Mike has been struggling recently. And I'm wondering how much that is that he's starting to feel the pressure. Like you have 2 world-class hitters on that team, right? You have 2 world-class hitters who are going to be demanding a lot of volume. Last year, it was super easy, right? Jeshki's used to kind of playing that secondary role. Doesn't matter if it was Bruno or whoever, whatever Turkish guy they had last year. You knew the volume was going to go to Namir. But this year, if Namir's not putting the ball away, then you've got Ngapeth being there and being like, no, bro, like give me the ball. Let me take over. And I'm wondering if that's affecting Micah's game and how he's delivering the ball.
Maybe. I kind of see it as Namir being the demanding one and Irvin just being like a wild card of what sort of player you're going to get that day. I don't think he's the demanding attacker that Namir is. I just think that Irvin all around is so important and such an enigma that I think that there's just a lot of fragile criteria for success for Hawkbank, and when they don't meet all those, it can look pretty messy. But this is going to be probably a pretty sloppy game again on Wednesday in Turkey. Like these,
I expect that too.
Yeah.
I expect it to be another sloppy game. Like I expect there to be a few cards thrown around. I don't think that Irvin demands the ball like vocally. Like I don't think he's saying necessarily or coming to Ma'a with the same like fervor that Namir is, where he's just like, give me the ball, give me the ball. But when you have a guy like Irvin Ingapeth on your team, you have to always be considering him. Right, as a setter, and that ball's coming to you. You like he went to him like he was 4 for 6 in that fifth set.
Yep.
Like it's clear that he was going to the hot hand, right?
That's, I mean, yeah, to me, that's
Has to
good
play it
setting.
100%, right? But maybe that's creating some dynamics. I mean, at this point, we're just talking about it. Anything else to talk about this match here, Rob?
Nope. That refereeing fiasco in the fifth was an absolute nightmare, and the Kaczmarek red card was one of the dumbest things I've seen from a player all year.
Kenny Diaper in the chat did say that Kaczmarek's daughter was also sick on the same day with an IV drip. So it just seems like we'll talk about it in a little bit once we talk about the Plusliga. This year has gone from bad to worse, right? It just constantly seems like these guys are in a stew, and it's just been a real difficult.
It's been hard. It's been hard for him. So back to the bracket. We already talked about Guaguas versus Prague, leg one. We talked about that on last week's show, last Tuesday night. So last one to talk about is Berlin versus Tours. Berlin did beat Tours 3-1 in the Max Schmeling Hall in Berlin on, I think also on Wednesday, right?
Yep.
Yeah, also on Wednesday.
It started just before this one, I think. Yeah.
I did not watch as much of this game. My takeaway is that you got a very good Ruben Schott game, which is a nice bonus for Berlin. You can't really always rely upon those, and he led the match in scoring with 18 points, so that was nice. And Berlin served the ball significantly better. Those are my two takeaways.
Berlin is a dominant team when they serve tough. I mean,
yes,
8 aces, 60 on, only 16 errors, 1 for 2 on that. That's really, really strong there from Berlin. And there was definitely there was a moment in the third set, like Berlin was upset that Tools won that second set. They came out, I think it was an 8-2 start, something like that, and they just put the pedal to that metal in the fourth set, and they were kind of jawing back and forth. And I mean, I think Tools is a pretty good team, but I don't think they can play with the physicality of Berlin. And when Berlin take care of the detail like they have been, like Berlin is just so dominant against a team like Tools. We'll have to see what happens against Trentino potentially in the next round. I mean, that was a home game as well for Berlin, so we'll have to see what happens when they head back to Tools.
And a very good, very underrated home crowd in Tours and just kind of in the French league in general. But kind of the way I look at this matchup is that Abuba is a poor man's Marek Shotola.
Yes,
like Abuba wishes he was Marek Shotola.
Yeah,
and big physical lefties. Abuba is incredibly erratic and inconsistent, and Shotola is like low key, well, by far the best and most important player on Berlin, but he's also like up there surprisingly high in world opposite rankings, at least in my opinion. He's very good, very important.
Higher than Abuba for sure.
Oh well, yeah, not even in the same.
Remember how Abuba started a Brazilian Vienna roster last year? That was weird.
That was a little weird.
That was really weird. I mean, he was pretty bad in this one. 5 errors, got blocked 3 times, 13 for 31. So it's a real low efficiency there for Abuba. There's an interesting, Joe Worsley was telling an interesting story about a fight that almost broke out in one of their matches against Tools this year, where Abuba was running his mouth. So yeah, it's a little bit interesting. I do expect Berlin to kind of take care of business. Whether it's 2 or in 5, I don't, all they have to do is win the 2 sets, right? So
correct. Yeah, Berlin just has to win 2 sets. But I mean, don't be that shocked if, let's say, you get only one of the 3 Berlin wings playing particularly well. I wouldn't actually be that surprised if this went golden set. I would not be that surprised if this went golden set.
Why is that?
Just because
give me a reason.
Home court advantage is massive on both sides. I think the Tours home court advantage is huge, and I think that you can rely on Shotola for Berlin. But if you get a subpar game from both Karl and Schott, then you've really got a chance to beat this Berlin team.
I really like Timothy Karl. I really like the idea of Timothy Karl and Théo Faure playing on a very different looking style French team. Like imagine if you have those two on the court, you automatically change that French team from a very like skilled level team. Not saying that they're not powerful, with two guys who can crush the ball. Like Theo Fogg and Timothy Carl are both guys who can just
Big arms.
just big arms, and I kind of love that for French volleyball.
So, and like somebody just said in the chat, Tours is solid. They did beat Resovia twice. Excellent point. They can beat Resovia twice. They can beat Berlin at home. I don't think that's that impossible. So we'll see. So Guaguas versus Prague and Zaksa versus Halkbank are both on Wednesday. Berlin at Tours is Thursday. You want to move on to the women's side? There's a lot less to talk about here.
Yeah, a lot less to talk about on
Dong,
the
dong,
women's side.
dong, dong, dong.
Yeah, it was like noon outside of a church in Europe. All the dongs everywhere. That was that was my more PG version. I'll say my more rated R version another time. But Vakuf Bank 3-0 against Zhezhov, Zashabasha 3-0 against Prometey, and the German derby. I thought that this one was good. Tuned in, was not impressed. Was not super stoked on that. Stuttgart also giving Potsdam the donging.
Indeed. Yeah, so we're not even going to talk about Adzadjabasha versus Prometey. That was the most predictable 3-0 maybe ever, and then they go back to Istanbul this week. So thanks for participating. We'll see you later. Also, we already talked about Vakuf Bank beating Zhezhov last week in another 3-dong. I didn't get to watch any of Stuttgart versus Potsdam, unfortunately. So I don't really have any takeaways here, but let's see. Crystal Rivers 17 on pretty high efficiency.
Yeah. 18, 25-18, 27-25, 20-19. I had this one on the first set, was just domination by Stuttgart. I kind of watched a little bit of the second because you kind of see that they were getting into it. Got a little bit interesting there at the end, especially since sorry. Especially since Potsdam had held that 4-point lead. They were up like 21-17 in that second set, and Stuttgart was able to come back and take it. But yeah, it was really just domination. Crystal Rivers looked really good, but so did the rest of the entire team. For Potsdam, Tara Taubner, hadn't really heard of her much before, but she was pretty good offensively. 17 for 28, and only up.
Yeah, off the bench for Potsdam. That's pretty solid. Yeah, I'd like to pay more attention to this game this week, just so I can know a little bit more about whoever ends up winning, like heading into the rest of the tournament. That game is Wednesday as well. So yeah, Prometey at Adzadjabasha. Yikes, that's going to be a beatdown. Same with Zhezhov at Vakuf Bank on Thursday. Those both those games in Turkey. Like, see you later. Don't bother. But yeah, I'm going to tune into this German game just for the sake of learning about whichever team advances. But yeah, this was not set up to be a particularly exciting play-in round on the women's side. However, I do think that the quarterfinals, when we get there, all four of those matchups are going to be awesome.
Once we get to the quarterfinals, that's when things get spicy, and I'm all here. Taubner is a 21-year-old from Serbia.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so looks like she's been on a few of their U19 and U21 programs for the Serbians. So that might be another opposite there to keep a lookout coming out of Serbia.
Okay. Let's talk about the CEV Cup for a little bit, because they're into the quarterfinals, and there were actually a couple good games. Starting with this one that was actually very surprising.
Very surprising. These two teams just, and I think it's they've got 3 weeks in a row where they're playing each other on Thursday, and as Zavierci easily handled Resovia, and I know Resovia is dealing with some injuries, but they still have those. They still don't have Kuba back. They still don't have Chebul back. And this one, like, they handled Zavierci. Like, they were in control the entirety of the match.
Match.
I was expecting Zavierci to come back, to push back for something, and it wasn't happening. Like, I mean, Zhezhov's blocking was unreal. 7 blocks for Carl Close. He was dog crap offensively, 0 for 4. But when you rack up 7 and an ace, 8 points just from extracurriculars alone, not even offensively, that's not bad. 14 overall for Zhezhov as a team, only 5 for Zavierci. Also 8 attacking errors for Zavierci. They hit 37%.
That's bad. Plus, yeah, 22 combined errors. Yeah, very, very bad Carl Butryn game. 13 for 36, 10 errors, including 6 unforced. That's quite bad. Trevor Cleveneau was okay, not efficient enough. And then all 3 Rosovia wings were very good. 14 for DeFalco, 15 for Luati, 15 for Boyer. And close 7 of 14 blocks in a 3-set match is remarkably good. And again, still no Pavel Zatorsky, still no Kuba Kokhanovsky. And still no Kleban Shable, although I'm not even convinced that's that much of a loss. Like DeFalco and Luati can hang in there fine. And Kozub over Jizga obviously is an upgrade. As
all day long. Kozub was over Jizga. Like, look at these
these numbers. Kozub looks good, man.
Like, they're spreading that offense. Like, all 3 of your outside attackers are in the 20s, right? DeFalco at 29, Yassine at 27, and Boyer at 24. You're keeping Boyer real efficient, 13 for 24 as well. Only 1 block and got blocked once with an error. So Kozub is like, this Rosovia team is an interesting team, and what a stark contrast from what we saw from them last week when they went 0-2. Right. And it was like last week we were talking about Rosovia being like, hey, like, this is a team that is starting to slide a little bit, but they've bounced back nicely, not only in the CEV Cup here, but in the in the PUSELIGA, as we'll talk about a little bit later. But 2 dongings for Rosovia, but this one I think is the biggest one, a big donging against Everett in the Champions League.
Definitely. So these 2 teams will play again this Thursday for the 3rd week in a row, and it'll be the rubber match because, Zavierce beat them in the PlusLiga 2 weeks ago, and then Rosovia won last week in convincing fashion. So in Zavierce, and their home crowd is awesome. We talked about them last week, and we'll see what sort of chirps they have up their sleeves for TJ DeFalco as he goes back to serve. But golden set potential here too, because that's the CEV Cup format. If Zavierce wins in 3 or 4, goes to golden set, but Rosovia needs 2 sets and they move through an enemy territory. So that'll be a fun one. Also, Olympiacos beat Arkaspor in 5, and Lundberg swept Aeons Milan, Luke Herr's team, in the sort of Canadian setter battle.
Real quick, we didn't even mention how bad Kolek was in this match. 5 for 21.
Ouch. Yeah, that's bad.
That is terrible. I mean, Olympiacos and Arcus was a really interesting one. We watched it a little bit. Big shout out to Berkai, who was streaming it on the Discord for a little bit, and then unfortunately it got shut down and we weren't able to watch it any longer. But that Arcus team, it really seems like they've started to figure some things out. Nick Hoag's been out for a little bit with injury, but Grosier, it's just continuing to mash some balls. So I kind of
28 points in that game for Grosier. However, 18 for 46 with 13 errors is quite bad on offense. The thing is, though, 9 aces. 9 aces. That's ridiculous. I don't know if I've seen anybody this year even sniff double-digit aces individually. That might be outrageous.
That might be the highest serve count for sure of the year.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Wow.
So in a losing effort though too, because Olympiacos did win this game, and Tonchek Stern pretty good, Salvador Hidalgo Oliva pretty good. Let's see.
Was this one an away game or was it was a home game?
This was this was in Greece.
It was in Greece. That could be another one that's hands down golden set potential
for sure,
without a doubt. There,
sure.
That one I could definitely see going to 5. And honestly, I kind of have my money on Arcus on that one. I'm not high on this Olympiacos team.
I actually kind of am. I have liked them a little bit this year, but I could definitely see golden set. Also, Lundberg donged Aeons Milan pretty convincingly. I don't know anything about this Milan team other than Luke Herr.
Yeah, no, me neither much. I find it's hard to watch the Greek league. Anyone got some insight of how to watch the Greek league?
I don't know.
No idea whatsoever.
Anything about the Greek league. Nothing at all. So and then we're not going to talk about Fenerbahce playing Mosaic. That's not a good use of anybody's time. The one decent women's game, CEV Cup, Chieri beat Le Canet in 5. That was pretty good.
Chieri continuing to figure some things out. That's a team that I've been high on for a little bit now. And I mean, Le Canet is solid, right? That's a team that went all the way to the quarterfinals last year and is chock full with Russians.
That's right. Kaya Grobelna 22. on 19 for 45 attacking. It's pretty big volume. Not a whole lot of other big takeaways from this stat sheet. Looking at a handful of Russians. Alina Popova with 20, Anna Kotikova with 19. That's one's an outside, one's an opposite. I can't tell which is which. I won't claim to have watched this game, but honestly, I think the winner of that series is going to win this tournament.
Yeah, I could very much see that. Is there any other significant matchups in the CEV Cup on the women's side?
No, not really. There's two other French teams, a Hungarian team, a Polish team. Like Budowlani Łódź is in CEV Cup now, and they're probably going to win no problem. And then some matchup, like a Serbian team against some other team I've never heard of. So yeah, I don't know. But real quick though, the CEV Challenge Cup on the men's side is going to be a Monza versus Warszawa final, and that's actually going to be really fun.
I love that. These are the matchups that we want. These are the matchups that we want, CEV. I honestly just want a pool, honestly, of just the Polish teams and the Italian teams right now. And on the women's side, I just want a pool of the Italian teams and the Turkish teams. That's all.
Monza versus Warszawa is like a legitimately really fun matchup, and it's going to be in the finals too, which is where it belongs. So I'm happy that they didn't see each other any earlier than that. So like I think leg one of the semis for both was last weekend. They both won easily, and then on the women's side, it's going to be Novara against either Nantes or Niloufer. France or Turkey.
I'm not interested in Novara, but that men's match though, especially like it's always chintzy when you win a CEV Challenge Cup, especially like the CEV Cup. There's usually good teams by the end. Like remember that one year we got St. Petersburg and Dynamo Moscow in the CEV Cup, and Moscow was arguably the best team in the world that year. That was awesome.
That was awesome. And then, but conversely, I think it was last year, maybe the year before. I think it was Scandici that ended up winning the CEV Challenge Cup,
and it was just dog shit, just garbage all the way through. So I absolutely love that. Like Warszawa and Monza, like those are going to be two fun home rounds. It's going to be two fun teams, two teams that are battling near the tops of their leagues. And Warszawa's in the top 4, and they're the top 2 actually of the PlusLiga with Monza.
Different story for Monza.
Yeah, I mean, they started the season real strong. They have just been struggling, but Monza has been good in anything that wasn't league play.
That's a good
as we saw again this week.
Well, before we will talk about the SuperLega in just a moment. But before we do, Everett, let the people know about thatvolleyballstore.com.
Absolutely, head over to thatvolleyballstore.com to get all of our best merch. I'm going old school today. I need a new one of these shirts, Rob. You can see it starting.
Just the classic spicy volleyball.
Yeah, just the classic spicy volleyball. Head over to thatvolleyballstore.com and use the code SPICY to get 15% off your entire order. You got the 9x9 gear, you got the 9x9 squared, you got the volleyball source, the anti-volleyball volleyball club, and of course, everyone's favorite game show, the Where's Daddy merch. Jumping nicely right into our segue of the only reason most people watch the show, to be honest, because why would you watch it for any other reason? Volleyball sucks.
That's right. Volleyball does suck. When you have to spend 38 minutes watching a fifth set, including a 17-minute break for refs to not figure it out. You know what I was thinking of that entire time during that break, Everett?
Right.
I was thinking of Daddy. I was thinking of Daddy Stankovic because
that just sounds wrong, though.
No, it doesn't. That's just what I think about because I mean I've been talking to some of our Italian friends in the Discord. Because I'm going to be in their country in June, and I'm very excited about that. And I'm going to get myself a Daddy Stankovic jersey. But if you can't get yourself a Daddy Stankovic jersey, you can get some Daddy gear from thatvolleyballstore.com, or you can just play our segment, Where's Daddy? Because we hide him somewhere in every show. And if you find Mr. Stankovic, then you comment a timestamp of where he is in the main YouTube comment section after the show is over. And if you do that, you get a shout out the following week. So last week we were talking about Monza's upset win over Trentino in the Coppa Italia semifinals, and there you see our lovely friend Mr. Gaggini, not Gaggini, but Gaggini. Gaggini got a little bit of a positive makeover there, and there's Daddy Stankovic. So our friend Lukey Dory says Daddy is probably a better libero than Gaggini. He was the first one to find him last week. So
I can't necessarily disagree with that, to be perfectly honest.
So good job with that one. Yeah, Daddy's hidden somewhere. When you find where he is, make sure you comment a timestamp, not in the YouTube live chat, but in like the main YouTube comment section after the stream is over.
Yeah.
And speaking of Trentino versus Monza games, Everett, I think this was the most predictable rebound revenge donging maybe ever. 25-12, 25-17, 25-17, hour and a shower. Trentino wipes the floor with Monza in regular league play.
Yeah, this was this was the spanking for the kids that got a little unruly that one day and got the better of their parents, and then they had to come home and like kind of face the music. That's kind of what it felt like in this one. And it was like you kind of knew, like right from that the first set, you could kind of feel that Monza was there with a little bit of their tail between their legs for for this one. Definitely not a good look, but Monza is at 6 in a row now in the SuperLega. That's starting to get very, very worrisome for them.
I think they've lost 5 out of their last 6. They did beat Toronto about 3 weeks ago. But other than that, yeah, they've been in a free fall. Lost to Verona, lost to Trentino, lost to Modena, lost to Perugia. Yeah. I can't remember who it was before that, but yeah, not a great look for Monza. It is a tough break for them because they've played really well, like you said, in competitions that are not the SuperLega regular season. But they're sitting in 7th right now and not looking super good in doing so. And we'll talk about the standings in a minute. But I have nothing else to say about this match. This was a donging of the highest order. Alessandro Micheletto was automatic, and there's not much more to say. Trentino is the best team in the league.
Yeah, it was a really, I wouldn't say a weird weekend. Like if you go down, there's really only one result that pops out at you, and that's obviously right there at the top of the screen. I was doing a bit of coaching, Rob St. Clair, so I was not on hand to check this one out. Were you able to peep a little one on this?
I sure was. You're referring to, of course, Piacenza 3-1 over Perugia.
Ooh.
Or fresh off of winning the Coppa Italia, Perugia on the road. To their credit, they come up against a very rare sighting of the buzzsaw that is good Piacenza. Piacenza is good, man. They're very, very good. And Yuri Romano was horrendous on offense as usual, but was brilliant from the service line. 5 aces, and this was by far the best Yoandi Leal game we've seen probably since the 2022 World Championship. He was insane. 24 points, 20 for 31 attacking. 2 aces, 2 blocks, acceptable reception, but like that, the well over 50% efficiency. He killed every ball he touched.
This is a great news game for Piacenza fans.
100%.
Right? This is a massive news game for Piacenza fans because this is the first game that we've gotten to see Leal back in somewhat of his old form since those injuries and since coming back from rehabs. This is also a massive news for Brazilian fans, right?
Yeah.
We've been talking in the Discord recently, and I mean, a lot of people still think Brazil's dead. And it's funny. I actually watched a YouTube video about the same topic, but for soccer, and it's really interesting to see what's happening with their geopolitical sport landscape in that country. But that's another conversation altogether. But when you look at that Brazilian team, just looking forward to the Olympics a little bit right now, like when you have Bernardinho and Leal like this, and Lucarelli playing his way he is, like you can't write them off. And the same thing with this Piacenza team. They're getting pieces back right at the perfect time, right? They're getting pieces back right at the time that you need to go make that run. So it's going to be really interesting to watch this Piacenza team because they have all the pieces. Right?
They do.
There's no doubt about that they have all the pieces, but can they have those pieces come together consistently? That to me is the big question, and can they do that consistently over the course of the rest of the season?
Well, the answer has clearly been no. The question for me is, can they peak at the right times? It's not about consistency for Piacenza, because that's kind of out of the question. Like,
You're right.
That's like become their identity. But can they peak at the right times? Like, can they raise their level to beat Perugia in a regular season game? Turns out the answer is yes. Can they raise their level in a 2-match series with JSW in the Champions League quarterfinal? I'm really interested about that one. I mean, Piacenza was in by far the hardest Champions League pool. They had Halkbank in Berlin, and they ended up winning that pool and playing good ball when they needed to. So I think this team might be just a team that kind of goes the way that we like to make fun of Yuri Romano, where they only wake up when they're best is truly required, even though Romano continues to be horrific on offense. Actually, our friend Eric Shoji texted me the other day, like, who do you like between Piacenza and JSW in that Champions League
you
series?
love that flex, eh? You love that flex.
I'm not telling lies out here. And I said Piacenza. I actually kind of like him. I kind of like him in big moments and big series, but like, sure, they're also just as liable to lose to like Cisterna. Well, I mean, yeah, they literally just lost to Cisterna last week. So anything's possible. Who do they play coming up? They have Monza, then Verona, then Toronto in league play. But this was a very impressive Piacenza game, and if Gianni Leal plays like that, then you're right. Brazilian fans are the real winners here.
Yeah, they absolutely are. For me, Rob, when I look at this SuperLega season, the top 6 teams, and I'm right now in the standings. Monza is below Verona. In my heart, Monza's higher, and I'm just gonna keep them in there, and that may be biased, but you're gonna have to deal with it. But like Monza's proved that they can rattle off and beat any of the top teams at any time, right? Once Rand gets back healthy, which we've seen that he is in Istanbul with the team this week for the CDB Cup. So there's some sort of timeline there where we're assuming that for Rand to come back. Like if Rand can come back healthy, Monza could potentially be a team again if they can stop the skid. But there's so much more parity in this year that I am getting so excited for any of these playoff series, right? I don't know if there's going to be any duds once we get to the playoffs.
1 versus 8 will be a dud for sure. Trentino against either Modena or Cisterna. That will be 3-0. But everything else is going to be awesome. And I want to spend some more time talking about Piacenza versus Perugia because on the Perugia side, this honestly wasn't even that bad of a match from them. The problem was Piacenza ripped 12 aces to 20 service errors. Like that, Piacenza was tearing the cover off the ball from the baseline, and it reminded me a lot of last year's Coppa Italia semifinal.
Yeah.
In this exact same matchup when Perugia was invincible all year, and they come up against a Piacenza team who lights it up from the baseline for one day, and there was nothing they could do. It's basically the exact same thing. So I'm not even that worried for Perugia. I still think their highs are as high as anyone in the world, but they're like when Gianni Leal drops 24 in 4 sets, and when they go with 12 aces on better than 1-to-2 ace to error ratio, like you're just not going to beat a team that does that.
No, and let's be honest, like with the way that Piacenza serves, like you have legitimately some of the best servers in the world. Like Romano as absolutely mediocre, just like no-name brand craft dinner. He is on the right side attacking. Like he's the
world-class server.
He is that homemade mac and cheese that you get from the barbecue joints when he's on the baseline.
Yep. Yeah, I mean 12 to 20 is an amazing serving output for a team for sure. And then it also helps, like, I mean 20 errors is a lot, but there's so much termination happening from the baseline that entire match was played on Piacenza's terms. And
that's the thing, is that Piacenza, they're so passive that they just let the game come to them so much. When they impose their game on other teams, and they can be imposing, when they impose their game on other teams, that's when they're the most dangerous. Like they are the best team when they are going 150 miles per hour dead forward and nothing is stopping them. Right? When you have Simone and Romano and Leal and Lucarelli and Brizal running that offense, ooh, like all the potential is there. All the potential is there. And if they could just put that engine together nicely just once, might just happen.
Maybe see what sort of damage they can do in the playoffs of both Italy and the Champions League. I watched a tiny bit of Lube 3-donging Modena. This was not a very fun game to watch, and just kind of continuing our theme every week of really just being very, very low on Modena. Just they're not good. It's boring volleyball, and it's not good to watch, except when Daddy gets subbed in. That's all. We even saw Giulio Pinali in this game, for God's sake. And he came in and got a wide open net, no blockers up in front of him, and he hit the ball bounds long. It's the most classic Pinali thing in the history of the world. So that made me want to throw up. Filippo Federici is not a good libero. Vlad Daviskiba got subbed out again and is trying to play 2 different positions, and I honestly feel bad for him. Maxim Sapojkov, for being 7'3", goes 2 for 12 with 6 hitting errors, which I just simply do not understand. And Modena is just not good, and it's a bummer because this is one of the great franchises in volleyball history, and they right now are sitting out of the playoffs.
To me, making their big move this year was going to get Sapojkov. That to me was a big mistake, right? He's a big body who puts up numbers, right? But let's remember, Mads Kid Jensen once put up numbers coming through from this same organization too in Verona. Like it's I'm not saying it's not hard to score points in your first season in the SuperLega, but it's way easier to score points in your first season than it is in your second season.
100%.
And the thing is that most players in the SuperLega, like I don't think most teams game plan that much for Sapojkov for 2 reasons. First and foremost, he's hitting angles that most teams just simply can't defend.
That's
right.
True.
When he's hitting his best shots, you can't defend what he's doing most times because he's so high up there and he's just hitting ridiculous angles. But the other half is that you know that you're going to get half of those back in errors. And half of those errors are him burying the ball in the middle of the net. Now, do I think that Bruno is a little bit too flippy and sets him a little bit underneath, and that doesn't really give him the full potential to really get underneath and crush the ball? Absolutely.
But at
a certain point, then you need to start adjusting.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm just going to jump into what I said last week. Modena is the most boring team in all of volleyball to watch. I would rather watch Padova. I would 100% rather watch Padova than watch Modena. I would much rather watch Gardini and Poro go off on the left side than I would rather watch Modena.
Dude, Luca Poro. I mean, I know Padova just got 3 donged by Verona, but Luca Poro is going to be a superstar. 12 for 20, 1 error, 2 aces and a block for 15 points. Like, and outstanding reception. Like the kid's going to be really good. Yeah. Now, the sophomore slump might apply to him as well. Once like next year he becomes hopefully a full-time starter somewhere, but I think
it's less susceptible to Italian guys, right? Because I think when you're coming up, like we see it a lot more with foreigners. That's my own perception anyways.
That's honestly, I don't hate that take. There might be something to that,
right? Because you're just like a little bit more like in with it. I'm not saying a sophomore something couldn't happen. Honestly, like watching Luca Poro more and more, I really wonder where he slots into the national team. Like that agree. Has to be the thought process you go when you watch this guy play. And to me, it's where do you rank him amongst that second tier of guy? Because you have those 3 guys in Rinaldi, in Botero, and in Ricine. Where does he fit amongst those 3? That's gonna be the big question. No, I know he's a little bit younger. Like, how old is Luca Poro?
I think he's 19, maybe.
Yeah,
he's a young kid. Ozzy in the chat says Luca Poro to Modena. Honestly, I would love that move. Yeah, he's a 2004, so he's about to turn 20.
Yikes, that's scary. He does things that 20-year-olds shouldn't be doing, and
it's impressive, man.
Yeah, so it's gonna be interesting.
Tommy did tell us in the SuperLega preview show at the beginning of the season that Luca Poro was going to take a starting spot on Padova by the end of the year, and he was going to be sick, and he was absolutely right. We're not going to talk about Milano beating Catania. I don't really need to talk about Cisterna beating Toronto, although I do kind of agree with Kinney in the chat saying that Cisterna might Cisterna is ranked higher than Modena, but Cisterna might just be better than Modena straight up. Like Teo 4 is lighting up the SuperLega right now. Another 20-point banger, 16 for 32 with 2 aces and 2 blocks over the weekend.
Yeah, Modena doesn't have a player that can do that. Modena does have the veteran presence of guys who have been there, done that, but Wantahan is not going to bang out like a 20 burger every night.
No.
If Sapojkov he's going to add another 6, 7, 8 errors on top of that. So it's just going to like that efficiency is going to be real low. I don't hate that take at all. I actually kind of like it. I'm with that.
Yeah. Also, shout out to F.A. Byram. He was very good. 15 points, 11 for 21. And shout out to Alexander Nedeljkovic, the middle blocker from Serbia. I don't know if I've said his name like all season, but 12 points for a middle, perfect 7 for 7 attacking, 4 blocks and an ace with no errors of any kind.
Love to see that. I mean, I know we were both pretty high for him when he was playing for Friedrichshafen last year.
Yes, yeah, that's right. And we saw him at VNL. Yeah, we saw him at VNL with Serbia in 22. He's just like a big dude with crazy broad shoulders. He's really long. He's like the classic, like prototypical Serbian middle.
Yeah.
But I like him, and he had a good game.
Rob, question in the chat from Luke D. Who are the best set of volleyball brothers right now?
Oh,
Oral Bro's got to be in with the show.
oh.
And you know what? This is a question that I was actually thinking about this week when
I love this question.
In thinking about the Poro brothers. They have to be up there. I think you've got the Poros, 100%.
Legumjas.
The Legumjas. Oh, right now you might have to give it to the Legumjas.
I think I would.
Two athletes who are like playing at the top. You got to give a shout out to the Ingapeth brothers. Even though
Swan is Swan even still playing?
Who knows? Might as well. Might as well. I'm gonna go be a hometown homer.
Worsley's,
Elsers. Worsley's have to be up there hands down
for sure.
Like I would put Worsley's in the top 3. I might go. Who did we say was number 1?
I think the Legumjas are probably number 1.
Legumjas number 1. Maybe Poros number.
Yeah,
I might go Worsley's number 2. Like,
but both Poros are playing major roles on teams in Italy. I think that gives.
Yeah, they're Italian. You're not telling like. I think Joe Worsley is better than Paolo Poro. And they're very like when you think about it, there's a lot of similarities there.
I love this take.
But I think Joe Worsley is better than Paolo Poro. And if Joe Worsley, and I think this is true for like maybe like a lot of players, but if Joe Worsley was Italian, he'd be starting for a SuperLega team, hands down.
That's for sure. It's absolutely
there's no doubt in my mind. But I don't think like Joe Worsley in my mind is better than Paolo Poro.
That's a very interesting take.
They both
was MVP of the French league for the first half of the year.
Yeah, right. Like they're both very good setters who understand the game, both on like in a technical but also emotional level. They're both very good all-round volleyball players. I love the way that they just huck and chuck the ball all over the court and run that offense.
I like this take. This is fun.
I think it's very minimal, right? But I do think it's there.
I love it. I mean, of course, there was the Shoji brothers while Kavika was still playing, but he's not. Then there's the Nikolov brothers that are coming up. I mean, Alex and his younger brother is named Simeon, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's gonna be nasty.
All time, you have to look at the Gerbich brothers.
Oh, Vladimir and Nikola.
They might be the best.
Yeah, man, that was just an incredible volleyball family.
Honestly, if you guys like
Murillo and his older brother, I think his older brother's name was Gustavo Andres, 2 Brazilians.
Gustavo was Murillo's brother?
I'm pretty sure it was his older brother because Gustavo was a starting middle in the 2008 Olympics when Murillo was like just coming in. I'm pretty sure those 2 were brothers.
Okay, here's the deal. People, you guys are gonna hit us up in the chat, not in the chat, but in the comments afterwards with
YouTube comments.
Your favorite volleyball brothers are. Luke, I love that you brought up that question because it's literally something that I was pondering the other day, just being like, where, like some of the best. So like I think I saw something that was like they were talking about the Kelseys being like the best football brothers of all time, and I was like, I wonder who the best volleyball brothers are. And immediately,
this is fun.
Yeah.
Ooh, we can extend it out to sisters too, because I mean, Isabel Hawk has a younger sister who's like at least a professional, and Isabel herself is so good that might win it for her. Or I mean, the Skinner sisters, the Americans, are quickly rising up that list.
Oh, Avery and Madison,
and Maddie, yeah, that's so interesting. But then also there's the brother sister combo. We don't have that many of those, but Yuki and Yuki Ishikawa and his sister,
yeah.
Yeah, this is fun. Put any of your answers in
the McKibbins. The McKibbins don't count. Come on.
No.
They're beach guys.
Father son is a different combination entirely. Ozzy.
Hoax.
That's a pitiful Homer answer. With
Glenn Home is an all-time great. Anyone of that era will tell you that Glenn Hogue is an all-time great.
How many gold medals do they have compared to, say, the Resende family? You're better.
Those guys. I forgot. I forgot. Yeah. Okay. Maybe they're second. Maybe we'll go with the Resendes. We'll go with Tilly's third.
Tilly's. Yeah, I like questions like that. Yeah,
the Tillies,
let us know in the
you gotta
comments.
go. You gotta go second with the Tillies, but
Olympic gold, baby. All right, let's move over to the women's side in Italy. There was only one match worth talking about. I hope we did a good job hyping it up on last week's show, but it ended up being yet another Conegliano dismantling of another good Italian team in a 3-dong over Malonza, 23-18-18, dude. I don't know how this keeps happening. I don't know. I swear there are other good teams in Italy, but every time they play Conegliano, just nobody even has a little bit of a chance. It's honestly amazing to watch.
We know why though. One, they're the best organization in volleyball.
Yep.
Like I truly think I truly might think that men, women, it doesn't matter. Two, they've got the best coach in volleyball.
Yep.
There's no one better than Daniele Santarelli right now. Men, women, doesn't matter, right? Third and foremost, because of those two, they take care of details so damn well.
They do.
They play as a team so damn well, right? Like there's I was thinking about it the other day, and like a lot of that like whole Brazil is Brazil thing. And I mean, now that they're getting Leal back, that's going to be a whole other discussion. But
Conegliano is
good,
Conegliano.
good teams, like if you want to be a best team, if you want to win championships, you have to have athletes, you have to have talent, but you also have to take care of those little things, of those bang bang plays, have the roles on the team. When you go out of system, what's happening, who's doing what in all of these different situations. This is what teams like Piacenza really lack, right? It's that detail. You see it all the time with Milano, that they let stupid things just sneak into their game when there shouldn't be. Conegliano doesn't let that happen, right?
Nope.
And in games where they do let it happen, in games when they just don't have it, they figure it out. Like the game against Chieri a few weeks ago, right? Good teams find ways to lose in bad situations. Better teams figure out how not to get into those bad situations by simple maneuvers. And that's Conegliano through and through.
Wait, 1 second, Everett. I need to make sure we get our broadcast back. Looks like we have it back. I hope. We just had a little crash issue on my side. I think we're back now. Can everybody in the chat let us know if you can hear us? I think everything is working now, because which is too bad, because I really liked that monologue you just went on about Conegliano, the organization, and about just how much better they are at every little thing than everyone else, including Malonza, because you're absolutely right.
I really hope that didn't get cut off, because I was on a roll there.
We've at least got the recording of it. That's for sure. I know we have that. But I mean, I was most excited about this match on Sunday more than even any of the men's matches. And I agree with Brian in the chat. I don't understand how you can leave Dana Retke and Nika Daldera both on the bench when Rafaela Foley and Laura Hireman in the middle are both doing nothing, and Miriam Silla, Karabayama, and Helena Kazot are all doing nothing. It's crazy that you have all of these options, as we've made fun of Malonza for many times in the past, for having too many options and not knowing what to do with them. To not even use them is insane. Like when the options that you've chosen to start are just not even close to playing well enough, to not go to good players on the bench straight up makes no sense. And it's just a completely different feeling, because Conegliano honestly is constructed kind of similarly. They have a one setter, one opposite, and one libero that everyone knows. Everything else, they've got a lot of options. They've got 3 outside hitters on Conegliano. They've got at least 3, arguably 4 middles. And the buy-in and the embracement of the roles and the system and the identity of Conegliano is a polar opposite to what is going on the Malonza side. And you can see it when they play each other, because, I mean, Isabel Hawk was unbelievable, 17 for 31 with 1 error, like above 50% efficiency is downright insane. Like, that's one of the best matches of the year for anyone. But like, then you have like random awesome performances like Marina Lubian, a middle, 5 for 9, a block, and 4 aces. That's awesome. Kelsey Robinson actually scoring some points on offense. Catherine Plummer having a really good game and passing the ball pretty well. Like, just the team system and the little details. It's as if you can put any player in a Conegliano jersey and it will still work because of the franchise and because of Daniele Santarelli. It's amazing. Yeah,
the system within which that they play, they do a really, really good job at establishing whose role is what, right? And it really is good to watch. But on the flip side, like, it just continues this conversation of mediocre Italian coaches just continuing to get good jobs, right? Gaspari has been there for like 5 years now. They've never won a trophy.
Nope.
No, sorry, they won the CEV Cup back in 2021.
Who cares? And now they have Paula Egonu, and now there's no excuse. And like, I feel bad for her because she's the only player doing anything. She had 22, 17 for 45, 4 aces and a block, and nobody else even cracks double digits. I mean, Miriam Silla was okay on offense, but she got ace 5 times. Like, there's just it's the exact opposite of Corneliano, where no matter who you put out there around Egonu, especially at the outside hitter position, they end up looking like a liability. Whereas no matter who you put out there on the Corneliano side around Hawk, Voos, and De Gennaro, who I think are the 3 most important players on the team, they end up looking amazing. I don't get it. If it's as simple as just hiring Santarelli, then he's worth every single penny that Turkey is paying him and more.
I mean, Rob, this kind of reminds me of some of the chats I've been having with the Stooges in the Canada section of the Discord, where it's just kind of like, well, why is these teams keep on losing? Well, it's because they're bad. But why?
Yeah.
Why don't you just change everything and just start winning? Why don't we just do that? And I was like, all right, cool. You know what? That's the first day. We're just going to put it on the whiteboard. Stop losing.
Stop
sucking.
Be better.
Be better. But yeah, like it once again, like this is Piacenza, Veravoli, Malonza, honestly, match made in heaven. Like, just
they are
chock full of talent, and they just can't figure it out.
And in the Volleyball Source universe, we're naming things after both teams. I mean, the Figure It Out of the Week award is sponsored by Malonza, and a Piacenza is a verb now. When you embarrassingly let a ball drop in the middle of the court with nobody communicating to it, that's a Piacenza. We even saw one from Zaksa in a Champions League game last week. So those teams' identities are starting to become further intertwined, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, 100%. Anything else, Rob, from the Women's League to touch on?
Nope. Let's talk about Zaksa. Let's talk about this absolute disaster. An absolute disaster. So we know about their injuries. We know Schliefke's been out. What they also found out before going to Resovia, was this on the road or was this at home?
This was on the road at home.
This was at Zaksa. This was at home. So that's tough.
Let's see
what they found out before this game was that Łukasz Kaczmarek, Bartosz Bednors, and their backup libero, I think his name's Banach, all 3 of them came down with some sort of illness and none of them could play. So Zaksa ends up rolling out Krzysztof Zapłacki, an outside hitter, who literally is not even a full-time volleyball player. He has a full-time job at like the Kędzierzyn-Koźle City Hall and just plays in the 3rd league in the evenings. And then they also, I think it's Ziolkowski is the other guy who literally
is he their trainer?
He's their trainer. He's Zaksa's trainer. He's been retired from volleyball for 5 years. And they had to pull him off the bench in an emergency just to have bodies.
Hey, he still went 7 for 12.
It's going 7 for 12. And
oh man.
And like kind of we were saying before the show, Everett, you said that the 3rd set was when it was just straight up fire sale. Like the first 2 sets were horrible, and they put in this Biernat guy to set in the 3rd, and Twan Wiltenberg, who I'm very low on, and this Zoikowski guy. And like that was honestly the best volleyball they played was when they had the most skeletal of all skeleton squads maybe ever, and there was nothing they could do. Like of course Resovia is going to win that game, and it just is another crazy point in the chapter of Zaksa's season. Just of all that they've had to go through, it's like nothing I've ever seen before.
It has been relentless, and usually you see it kind of break, but it has not. I mean, it's really interesting that Daniel Kitigoy only gets that first set. He goes 4 for 5 attacking, but passes the ball like absolute crap. Got ace twice, 13% positive, 0% perfect. So he's just shanking.
I think Kenny in the chat said that Kitigoy had the same illness as everyone else because he was 18, he was able to bounce back a little faster and tried to play and clearly couldn't pass the ball. But like this is insane. And I think what we have to talk about is this message posted by our friend Eric Shoji on Instagram. That I'm glad, Everett, you took a screenshot of this, because
It just seemed topical, and to me, the way like Shoji just seems exasperated at this point, right? He just seems so exhausted, where that they've never been able to. It seems like this team has, since they won the Super Cup,
yep.
not Supercoppa, they're not in Italy. Since they won the Super Cup, this has been a disastrous season. Like, this team got back from the Olympic qualifiers, and they were just in this bliss of post-national team season, right? Because this team on the whole, like Polish guys, American guys, and one Romanian, I guess, and one other guy from Norway, but he doesn't matter. Like, they had a fantastic international season. And then you just come and you're just hit by one thing after the other, and then maybe you don't like the coach, and everyone's talking to each other, complaining, but it has just been nonstop drama for the Zaksa team. And it's one thing, it's incredible that they're able to stay alive in the Champions League, just barely the way they have. But right now they're in 10th in the Plusliga. Like, they are fighting for their playoff lives in the Plusliga. And at this rate, they're still going to have a first of they're not making it into the top 4. Absolutely.
No.
If like, they are not hosting, they will not be hosting any round. So it's a tough spot to be in.
So we got to read that. We got to read this message from Eric Shoji, because this was after the 3-0 loss.
We do have audio, fans. I forgot.
We do. So Eric Shoji on Instagram writes, "Hey everyone, I feel like I have to write something here after our match today. Not sure why. Maybe I just need to get it out. This season has been crazy challenging and unique to everyone in our club. We have been fighting injuries. All but 3 or 4 players have missed a game, at least one game at some point this season, due to injury since the start of the season, which was already difficult. And then this week, 4 of our players came down with some sort of sickness that kept them out from today's match. We really cannot catch any breaks. It's frustrating and difficult to work through as a club and an organization. I just wanted to come on here and thank all the fans for their support through it all. We will continue to do our best and fight for every point." Now, I don't doubt any of that at all. I know that they're thankful, and they're going to continue to play their hardest, and that Zaksa is still Zaksa, and there's still championship pedigree there. But there's been so much that has happened to this team, and almost all of that has been completely out of their control, that even for a team that's won the last 3 Champions Leagues in a row, it can just get to be too much.
It's almost worse because the one injury that was their most in the control is maybe the one that's hurting them the most. Slivka breaking his fingers by pulling on the net out of frustration, right? And it's these like small little outbursts from Zaksa this year that have really just kind of like, this is a team that we've lauded for so long for just being so poised and put together, and really being like the Canigliano of the men's game, like them in Trentino.
Right.
But this year has just been so interesting, and it's also not a great look for this team as well too, that you fire your coach and you bounce back with like a sketchy Champions League game that you barely make it through, and put yourself in a tough position going into Turkey, and have to pull out a win, and then you get 3 down by Resovia like this.
Yeah, so I mean, I think my take on it has been pretty clear from the beginning of the season, that I really did not think it was Tommaso Melvo's fault.
No.
I think that history will probably prove me right on that one in the end. But again, just another thing that was completely out of Zaksa's control, and like having 2 starters out with an illness. They get 3 down by Resovia, and now, like you said, they are absolutely fighting for their playoff lives. It would be completely insane to think about it, but the Plusliga is the Plusliga. You play a ton of games. It's very demanding. Only half the league makes the playoffs, and there is no guarantee at all that Zaksa, who's won 3 Champions Leagues in a row, is even going to finish in the top half of their domestic league this year. It's crazy to think about.
I mean, this is one of the reasons why I'm like, volleyball's sick. You know, like this is when I say volleyball is volleyball, like this is what I mean by the good stuff. Most of the time,
this is awesome sports stories and drama and life, and like,
and I'm still holding on to it, because still part of me is just like, what if they come back? What if they can?
Dude, That's what I'm saying.
And they've
They've
made like, how many times in the past 3 years have we been like, they're not going to make it through this gauntlet in the Champions League? And what have they done? What have they done, St. Clair?
They've won
They've
3 in a row.
done it
Now,
all.
like if they go to Turkey and they win this game on Wednesday in Champions League, they would play Lube Civitanova in the next round. Lube just had Ivan Zaitsev get hurt, and who's going to be out for a bit. And even though there's no foreigner limits in Champions League, which ends up helping Lube a lot, like Zaksa matches up well against Lube Civitanova if they can get through Hawkbank. Like nothing is impossible for Zaksa until they are officially statistically eliminated. The problem is they're running out of time in the Plusliga to avoid that very fate. So they do have a couple easy matches coming up, which will help them. But yeah, it's dramatic. There's a reason why we've talked about them just so much this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, hey, they're one of the best teams in the world too. So you've got to follow them. Not much else happening in the Plusliga. Just a bunch of 3 dongs and easy wins this week. Nisa did go to 5 with Shatahova. Let's see. Olsztyn 3-0 against
not much.
Skra. JW 3-1 against Katowice. Lviv 3 dong against Valki. Sofia against Zaksa. Zawiercie 3-0 on Radom. Anything coming up here? St. Clair, Resovia versus Nisa. No. Zaksa has, of course, the Champions League, and then they've got Katowice this weekend.
Okay. Lublin versus Warszawa is an okay game. Yeah, not a lot of great stuff on the Plusliga schedule, but it is nice that, like, kind of when I'm sitting during the day, I like think, does there happen to be a random Plusliga game on? And the answer is almost always yes. And I just turn on the background and see what's up. Like I did watch Olsztyn beat Skra the other day without Josh Tuaniga and without Nico Scherzen. And so they started Armoa and Karwitzek on the left, and they looked awesome.
Yeah.
So I just like pick up random little things here and there.
Also, quarterfinals of the Polish Cup going on next week on Tuesday and Wednesday.
Okay.
So we'll talk about we'll preview those a little bit more on next week's show, of course. Right. But
good call. Let's turn our attention for the rest of the show. Let's turn our attention stateside. Let's talk about the Pro Volleyball Federation because we spent a lot of time on this last week. We told you all the lens with which we are going to look at this league, and we're going to continue to talk about the matches. We're going to talk about the X's and O's. We're going to talk about the storylines as if it is a real established high-level league, which that's what we all want it to be. And
I think the thing is that it is, Rob. Like we're talking about, like they're getting consistent, like 5 figures in those stadiums, right?
Yep.
You're getting 10 to 11,000 fans. Those are huge numbers in Europe. Those are huge numbers for volleyball. So I think that's one thing that we need to recognize here. And also, I mean, you're starting to see where the cream of the crop is. Atlanta. That Atlanta team is
very good.
Is looking real good. I do have some issues before we get started over there. I do have some issues that, like, this first game that you're seeing in front of us, this is game number 3 for Atlanta. It's game number 1 for San Diego.
And Vegas still hasn't even played.
Yeah. That's a tough spot to be in when you're going to be playing up against teams who have had, and like, this is brand new. There wasn't a proper preseason. There wasn't so many things. I do somewhat question, like, I don't think it's good necessarily for this league to be starting in January, Rob, because of the proximity to the end of the NCAA season. Like it's so bad for the development of the athletes to have to like peak again so early. Like you need you need some time off after that season so that they can
kind of like I was saying, as the PVF was really ramping up, all of this feels rushed to me. It all feels like they threw it together as fast as they possibly could in an attempt to beat League One volleyball to the product. 100%. And they did beat them to the product, but will that be good in the long term?
Yeah.
At what cost? I guess we'll see. But on court, you're right. Atlanta's 3rd match of the year, San Diego's 1st. It was a very convincing 3-dong. I mean, Morgan Hentz is the best libero in the league. I don't think it's close. Tori Dilfer Stringer is her married name. She might be the best setter in the league, and Leah Edmond might be the best player in the league. 20 points is insane on 16 for 27 attacking. That's 41% efficiency. And finally, an awesome, like, wow-worthy offensive performance in a PVF match. That was very cool to see.
Yeah, I could see the offenses ramp up a little bit from week 1 to week 2. Just a little bit more zip, just a little bit more swing. I think you're starting to see some of those athletes really step into that role of being the go-to hitter for their teams. I mean, I really feel for the San Diego team. They have been not so great early start couldn't get anything going. And I mean, you're going up against a juggernaut team in Atlanta in your first matches there. They just came off 2 weeks. I mean, Hannah Tapp she got the start. She was really not good. They kept on calling Nutsara Tomcom the best setter of all time, which like she's
what?
Yeah, the commentators kept on calling her that, and I was like, yeah, I mean, like she's pretty damn good. You're not wrong. There's like that one commentator from Omaha being like, we are in the center of the volleyball universe, and I was like, I could name you like a dozen places that I would call the center of the volleyball versus before Omaha,
plenty
Nebraska.
of complaining. I have plenty of complaining to do about the commentators, and actually it has to do with this game right here. It's San Diego's second game, Omaha's first win of the season. The Supernovas sweep the Mojo in Omaha. Again, 11,000 people in the stands, like you said. The broadcast for this game was unwatchable.
Ooh,
it was so bad. This was Saturday night.
I did see from the
so bad.
Yeah,
I saw so bad. For the entire first set, there was about a 5-second audio desync delay, which was horrible.
Production.
Took them so long to fix it, and the commentary was the worst that I may have ever heard, and that really is such a low bar. Yeah, there's somebody in the chat who's making the right point. Yeah, there was this female commentator, the color person, was talking about the clothing choices of the Oregon women's team in the NCAA. Which, one, why are you talking about that in a PVF game? 2, why are you talking at all about what players are choosing to wear while they play? I completely don't understand that. So, like what I'm confused by is that the PVF has invested so much in such a short amount of time in a lot of really, really good areas. But the one area that they clearly are nowhere close is the broadcast. It's still not good enough. It's still 720p. They still can't even figure out where it is going to live online. Like, all these games have been on YouTube so far, but I still think that was not their original intention and is not the long-term plan. Commentary is a problem. It's a big problem. The product is so much worse for the people who can't go to these games. Like me, there's no teams anywhere close to Chicago. I would love to go to some of these games. Instead, I have to watch online like the other 99% of the world, and your broadcasters are doing you a disservice to this league. Hire better people. It's not good, and it needs to change.
It's always crazy to me when big organizations just always leave media as like an afterthought, and it's just kind of like this is your front
number one thing that you must do,
right? Like, if you were a retail store, this is your front, like this is your front window. This is your branding. It's a little bit credible. I will say though that the action on the court has been really good, like really solid. Like I am looking forward to sinking into this a little bit more, just with how accessible and like this is going to be a big week as Rob puts up the schedule up here. Kicks off on Wednesday. We go. Yeah, no.
Wednesday. So we finally get Vegas. We finally get Vegas in. That's another thing I don't really understand is there's absolutely no rhyme or reason to the schedule or the format of the league. I don't like that. But Vegas at Omaha, Grand Rapids at Atlanta. Let's see. Vegas at Orlando, Omaha at Grand Rapids, and Orlando at Atlanta. Whatever happened to Columbus? They played one game and they have no games at all in the next week. I completely just don't understand the schedule format. However, all these games are going to be on YouTube. You get a new team in the Vegas Thrill to potentially watch and root for starting on Wednesday night. And
Lane Van Buskirk, Canadian athlete.
Oh, is that where she is? Okay, cool.
Yep.
I mean, I'm still keeping my hopes up. I'm still going to watch a lot. I'm still waiting to get the call to commentate some of these games because, my God, it's been. But it's seriously, Everett, go back and watch Saturday night's game. Go back and watch.
I don't know if I want to now.
You have to.
I was having a nice games night with my friends. So
no, you have to watch it. It's important that you hear just how bad it was on Saturday night, San Diego at Omaha.
Yeah,
so bad.
I do listen to the Volleyball World commentators on a regular basis.
They're
So
bad too.
um,
They're bad too.
I'm not immune to it. I know what's happening, but
Oh man. If you want some if you want some listenable commentary, then this weekend you can watch some VLA if you're interested. VLA is going to be in 2 places. I'll be at one of them. I'll be in Chicago. Got the same 3 teams as we saw 2 weekends ago, which is cool because we get some roster continuity, we get some storylines, we get some rivalries, we get some history, we get some actual movement in the standings, which is cool. So I'll be in Chicago Saturday and Sunday. And then the East Division kicks off as well out in Connecticut. We got a Friday night primetime game and then a bunch of other action. Team LVC, the Boston Bounce, and the Northeast Force. LVC is the reigning champions. I expect them to be very good. LVC in this this is our 3rd event in 3 years at this Mohegan Sun Casino in Connecticut, which is gorgeous, and I'm bummed I'm going to miss it. LVC is undefeated in that building. They're 8-0 in that event.
nice. Gotta love that. I mean, LVC to me is one of the few tier 1 teams that actually keeps it together. You know,
They are, I'd
Like-
say them and the Icemen are the 2 best, not only teams, but best franchises in tier 1 by far.
yeah, I love to see it. Steven, you're right. You could comment and commentate any of those PVF games.
Oh, sure. I mean,
Yeah.
and anybody watching this show could easily do a better job than, that woman talking about the Oregon University players' clothing choices in the middle of a PVF
That's
game.
like, I just hate that. Almost broke my chair there. Especially coming from a woman too. Like, we already struggle so much with the topic of clothing within volleyball. Like, bro, I have a hard time telling people, like hipsters in the city, that I do volleyball, because I always know there's some SJW out there who's ready to be thumping her chest about women wearing bikinis in beach volleyball, which is like so far from the reality of it and all of it. So the fact that a woman is sitting there and talking about what they're wearing is just dog shit. I hate it.
Yeah, it's not good. So, I mean, and we can make it a weekly segment at this point because we are watching the PVF. Like we care about what this league is doing. We're really interested in it and want it to succeed. But
I think there's a lot of things that are good, but just
there are.
But
There are.
we are also very critical about the broadcast because it is what we do.
It's what we do,
Right.
and we're not going to lie to you all, and we're not going to sugarcoat our opinions on this show. That is not what you come here for. So,
But at the very least, we get to watch it on YouTube for free. And
Sure.
there's pro volleyball. So like, at least I'm giving them at least a 75% right now. Like the PVF in total. Everything else is details. Now, if we start hearing that, athletes aren't getting paid, which we haven't heard nothing of the sort. I'm not trying to spread any rumors here, but like maybe that's a different question. But like, to me, if games are happening, athletes are getting paid, then everything else is whatever, and all those things can be changed in the future.
They can. Got to start doing better with media, though. And I think people, even like non-volleyball industry people like us, even just regular fans, are really starting to take notice and be turned off by the quality of the broadcast. So we're keeping our eyes on that. We'll see what happens over the next, I think, 5 games before our next show.
Yeah, full week of the PVF. So I'm stoked about that. A lot of volleyball to watch over the next few nights.
Indeed. So Champions League as well. Champions League the next couple days. Obviously, Wednesday is a huge day with the Zaksa matchup, and Berlin versus Tours could be good. Even Guaguas versus Prague could be good. I don't think any of those women's games will be very good, but plenty to watch there. Plenty to watch in Italy, of course, in Poland, in Turkey, in the United States. Wherever you are, there's going to be volleyball, and we'll be back next week, same time, same place, Monday night, 7:30 Eastern, to talk about all of it.
Can anyone who watches the V League in Japan tell me how it works? Because for years, I always thought that they just played on the weekends, and now all of a sudden they've got these random midweek games whenever I'm looking on like sports stats and stuff like that. So, Rob, let's just go spend like a month in Japan and just go to games out there.
Okay.
I've been seeing videos of them. Like, I saw this one video. First of all, the Panasonic jerseys are sick, and it's like Nishida and Jaishiki.
It sounds like they're starting to draw more and more foreign talent too. I think they might be opening up their foreigner limits and pulling even more guys for next year.
Yeah, Japan's doing some big things, and it sounds like they're getting some money in there. So, could be interesting. Yeah, let us know, best volleyball brothers in the comments in the chat
Yeah,
below. That
100%.
I think that's going to be a fun little exercise. You let us know, especially from like whatever your country you're from, because I'm sure you guys know. So let us know.
Yep,
All right,
best
guys.
volleyball brothers.
Have a great week. We love you all, and we will see you on Monday. Peace. What? Did you get?